grab a cup of joe and let's gather round that hay bale. With your hosts, Ann from Andale Homestead, Casey from Ormsby Farms, Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch, and Sandy from Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. Here they are. Hey, y'all, hey.
Hey, everyone. It's Ann with Andale Homestead.
This is Sandy with Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona.
And I'm Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch.
Hello, everyone. It is Casey over at Ormsby Farms.
Thank you so much for being here on our Round the Hay Bale Season 6 podcast. Now, if you're listening to us on any podcast network, Apple, Spotify, any of the above, you want to see our sweet faces that we have and maybe a few of our props that we may have to be able to show you, come over to Round the Hay Bale. That's Round the Hay Bale on YouTube, and you'll be able to see our smiling faces. We love watching and listening to your comments that you're putting back and forth in there, and we really appreciate you all being here. So, Casey, what in the world are we talking about tonight?
Let me tell you, this is part 2, y'all. We were talking last week about zero waste kitchen. And at the end of that episode, I kind of challenged and surprised my co-host on what our topic was going to be. And the funny thing, y'all, we're such professional celebrities that nobody broke a crack until the end recording stopped. And then it's like, Casey, what? But I think this is going to be a really good episode. We're going to we talked a lot about the gadgets for being zero waste, maybe cutting back on the paper napkins and paper this or paper that, definitely on your plastic bottles and aluminum cans. But tonight we're going to talk more about food, and we're going to talk about stuff that we use in our kitchens and how we use that item and turn it into a zero waste. I'm just going to start off with probably the most obvious that I'm sure everybody probably thinks about when they think using up everything of a food product, and that's chicken. Now, one thing that I tried when I was trying to be Susie Homemaker is I tried to use every single part of that homemade chicken. It was not my chicken that I actually grew on the farm. I did buy it from a homesteading buddy. But that one chicken that I paid $10.79 for, I don't know if I really spent that, but it was around that price. I was able to make dinner that night, dog food out of the chicken noodle soup that I was then canned in my electric pressure canner. And then what do you do after all that? You have bones. Mm-hmm. So you take those bones and you stick it in literally some water and basic veggies, onions, celery. Help me out, Sandy. Carrot. Here we go. And you boil it, and then you have probably some of the most amazing bone broth from that one chicken that you then can pressure can and put up. But once you take those bones out, they're kind of slimy, they're kind of icky, they're kind of looks like they've been drugged through the mud kind of thing. I went ahead and I dehydrated those bones and was able to then blend them up for bone meal to use for the garden, because it's very good fertilizer for the garden. But Ann talked about blending it up for dog, like to put on the dog's food, which is a wonderful idea. Do any of y'all use the whole chicken, and how do you use that whole chicken to make a zero waste kitchen? I'm going to throw it to Sandy.
Well, I basically do what Casey does, because you can do it with a chicken, you can do it with a turkey, any of that poultry, you can do it. And why not just use it and use it and use it? And those bones do get softer when they've gone through that whole process. And then you can, if you don't have a dehydrator, just boil them longer. And then you can literally take a hammer and just crush them up. There's things you can do if you don't have all the things we have in our kitchen.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's what we did as well. I did crush it up in a little NutriBullet like blender thing and fed it back to the dogs. But Sandy, can we put those bones like back in the oven to crunch them up? And
You
I would
could.
think you would be able
Yeah.
to do that. Most
Yeah.
dogs.
When they make bone meal, that you're going to put in your garden, those bones are just heated to huge temperatures, and then they're just they just pulverize them.
It sounds amazing. So there's all kinds of things in our garden. What we're talking about is zero waste in your kitchen, on your homestead, in your garden, or whatever. But Sandy was saying something really awesome about watermelon. And what was that about the watermelon that you were going to share with us?
Well, in a zero waste kitchen, every single bit of the watermelon you're going to use. Now, of course, you're going to enjoy the watermelon first, the red part, or yellow or orange, depending on your watermelon. Did you know that you can eat those seeds just like you eat pumpkin seeds? And a
Oh,
lot of people don't do that.
no, what?
When
I
I was
didn't.
little, my mom said a watermelon would grow in my stomach if I swallowed them.
Yeah.
You can eat them. You can roast them. You could just eat them regular. Um, then I like to make watermelon pickles. And I do take that very green part off of my watermelon. So I basically have the white part, and
Mhm.
and then I make watermelon pickles, and they're fabulous. And then that part I peeled off is going into my compost. So I don't waste any of it. And there's so many vegetables that we can do stuff with. You
Ha-
know,
have you done the rind candies?
I haven't done that. That's a good idea, though.
I haven't done it, but I tried it at a friend's house. It was so good. And it was like you said, they peel off the green part. So it's
Mhm.
just that white. And she candied it in sugar. And I think she probably may have dehydrated. It was like a delicious watermelon flavored gummy. It
Oh,
was
yummy.
so good. And I felt healthy and skinny eating it. When you normally with other desserts don't. But it was so good.
That sounds great. That sounds great. So, Monica, you've got all kinds of things going on over there in your neck of the woods. And what do you do over there to try to have some zero waste on your farmstead or on your kitchen?
Okay, if I get my mute off there. We raise a lot of our own meat. And just like you guys do with the chickens, we do with our whole turkeys. But one of the things we do, because we do process our own beef, and when I say beef, I mean like the entire cow, we try really hard to use every part of the cow. If we have taken the time to raise that animal from start to finish, we
Mhm.
want finish to be the most profitable for us, but also to be the most worth it. Like, I feel like that animal's life is worthy of us using as much as possible, and
Right.
such, especially a large animal. So with our animals, a lot of times when you take to a processor, you can't get the skins back, you can't get the heads back, things you would not normally use, they just dump. So we've been intentional to try to get the hide back. It takes a little extra time for us, but we try to do something with it. Now, we've tried and unsuccessfully tried several times to do our own hides. But in some cases, we have been able to send that away and get it, taken care of so that we could use it as, decor in our home.
There you
We
go.
have taken the heads of our longhorns and we have mounted them. We've paid for that to be taxidermied and, mounted. We tried to use as much of that animal as we possibly can. We get back every bit of it when we get it back too. So coming into our kitchen, we're going to get look, I'm gonna be honest, I don't eat the liver, y'all. Like a lot of
Mhm.
people do. I do
Mhm.
not. However, I have a really good friend who loves to barter. And so when I get the beef liver, I will keep a few for myself at like for the animals and stuff because I'll make some dog food with it. But the rest of it, I give to a friend and we trade up stuff throughout the year. So we get all the organ meat back. We get all the bones that we can get back. I use every bit of it. So I've got bags of bones. We give to friends. I'll sell to some people. Dogs get some bones. I get the bones. Everybody gets the bones. But we
Yeah.
can use that to make bone broth. And I make a
Yeah.
lot of bone broth. And then I try to distribute it to my in laws or to my dad or whoever because we are such a large family. But
Mhm.
I try really hard to make sure that we're using every part of that animal, whether it's for home decor or whether it's for eating. We will use it in bone broth and, whatever we're using. And if we're not eating all of the steaks, or I talked about this last time, if for some reason we don't get a chance to eat all of our beef that we're trying to consume, we give to the pigs, and the chickens will eat it too. It definitely goes out to compost, where the chickens will scrap through it, or we'll give it straight to the pigs as leftovers. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the pigs love a good T-bone steak. So I mean, is what it is. They
Who
like
doesn't?
I mean, boneless. We don't give them the bones, but no, we really will use it all the way through as much as possible. And I think for us, when it comes to the pigs and the beef and stuff like that, for the large animals, it really is about a respect issue too. As much as we want to be not wasteful, I think the non-waste part comes from the fact that we really took all that time to grow that animal, and that, it was such a respect issue, because
Right.
one
You
bad
won't realize.
Now, do you get, because I know we were speaking of delicacies before we got on the air. Do you get the cow tongue back, and do you sell
We
that?
do. We do. We get the tongue back, and we get the oxtail. I'll use the oxtail to make. I've never tried to do anything with the oxtail, like food, like eating wise, because I know some people put it in things and then eat the little bits of meat that are on it. There's definitely things, but we do the tongue, and we make. I make tacos and stuff out of it. That's probably pretty typical, but I'll do the lengua tacos. I have tried several different ways to eat it. The best way to do it for us is we stick it in the crock pot, and I shred it like shredded pork or shredded beef. And the kids don't freak out as much about it, because I will say that when you're slicing it and you have those little, what are they? The taste buds that you're eating. There's something about that. We just don't fly with it. It doesn't drive well with my people.
Thank you for choosing Round the Hay Bale.
Yes, don't forget, you want to come see all of our faces as I talk about cow tongue. Come check out. No, but and I also forgot, I do get the tallow as well. And when you get back your beef, you can get the tallow. Now you can choose to sell it if you really want, or give it away. And the first few years, I didn't know what to do with it. So I was giving it away. I was like, here, anybody want this? But I make sure I get that back too, because with the tallow for beef, you can cook with it. You can make cosmetic things, lotions, soaps. Tallow. And I'm gonna tell you right now that a lot of people will pay you plenty of money to get that beef tallow. So if you aren't going to use it and you're getting a cow, get it and then sell it to someone or barter with someone, because it is valuable right now.
Well, in our area, there are very few grass-fed cows, and I am interested in making various skin products that have tallow in it.
Yes.
And so it's hard to find the beef fat that's been grass-fed.
I'll bring you some in July.
You got it, baby. You got it. We're looking forward to that. That'll be great. That'll be great. Well, there is something that I do. Now, y'all, the world is a better place when I have a cup of coffee in the morning. I can promise you. You might think Adele's this sweet little old lady, but I can promise you I need at least 2 sips. It's all emotional, I'm sure, but I do need 2 sips of coffee in the morning at least before anyone speaks to me. Even my grandchildren know, ooh, she hasn't had her coffee yet. You leave Mama alone. But we do make it by the pot. Now, as far as coffee grounds goes, we say we don't have disposable filters. We have one of those filters in our coffee pot that you wash, kind of thing. But we do save the grounds. And there are many, many other things that you can do. Now, trust me, if you don't spread those things out on something and let them dry, they will mold. Just ask me how I know. They do mold. But you can spread them out. They dry. Fabulous in your gardens, absolutely wonderful in your gardens. And from what I was spoken to, Casey, you told me something else I could do about my coffee grounds. What is that?
Well, when I was making soap and selling it at farmers markets, Monica has tried this soap. I called it Before Sunrise. I found out that coffee grinds is an exfoliant, but it's also anti-aging. So it's an all-natural anti-aging exfoliant. And so I would put it in there, it was used coffee grinds that had already been through the water and everything.
Yeah.
Laid them out flat so that it mold. And then I would add it into the soap. It was the best exfoliant. And you know, when you first, are we all coffee drinkers here?
No.
Sandy's not one. Okay, so Anne, you know where I'm coming from.
I got you, baby. I got
You
you.
know, when you get that first like 2 sips, you're like,
Yeah.
and you're
Right.
like alive.
Human
That's
again.
how it feels when you wash with an exfoliant, a coffee exfoliant. Your whole body wakes up, and it's a great way to use those coffee grinds and not waste them. Turn it into a zero waste.
That's fantastic. And as far as a Keurig coffee, I don't have one strictly because I do like to walk by my coffee pot and warm up my cup every now and again. And you can't just warm it up with a Keurig or one of the little pod things. But they do have at my daughter's home, that's what she has. And so we have the not disposable as much as reusable. It's like a little screen cup that has a lid on it that pops up that you can put your coffee grounds in and make yourself some coffee. So there's all kinds of ways that you don't have waste. And I even save her coffee grounds, which is kind of bizarre. But anyway, we do.
Not at all.
You know, you can get your coffee grounds if you don't. Let's just say you're like Sandy and me. I'm not really a coffee drinker. Eric's a coffee drinker. But if you want coffee grounds for your garden or for whatever, you know, you can go to like a lot of local coffee shops, even the big ones like the Starbucks. They will give you their coffee grinds, like all their coffee grounds at the end of the day or whatever. If you ask them, a lot of them will give it to you. We have gone to Starbucks, local places, and we've gotten bags of coffee grounds at the end of the afternoon. And they're more than willing to just hand them to you, because you're just putting them in your garden. And usually I start with, I'm a local farmer that is looking for something for my compost. But we do add that to our compost bin, you know, but yeah.
So they don't think you're just coming in and putting a pinch between your cheek and gum there.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Okay.
I start off with the whole, I'm a farmer and
I need
You can-
coffee grounds.
You can go to some of your local restaurants. You know, they're dumping coffee grounds in just garbage cans. And a lot of them, if you're willing to have your specific garbage can or 5-gallon bucket and you're providing the bags and you pick it up every day, a lot of them will just say, sure, you know, we're just going to throw that in our bin anyway, so we'll give it to you.
That's an awesome idea too. And providing your own container would be incredibly important to getting a yes. So
Right.
that's good.
It's one less step that they have to do.
That's right.
But speaking of steps, one thing that me and Sandy were talking about off the air, because both of us have done it. I think, Monica, you did it last year, but not necessarily with apples. Is Sandy, talk to us about zero waste for apples. Now, me and Monica have done pears, so very similar way of doing it. But how do you do the zero waste for apples?
Well, you guys know, not everybody will know on this podcast, but I'm kind of an apple queen. I'm obsessed with apple trees. I have a lot of apple trees in my yard. And in fact, Joe says, I don't think there's any more room for any more trees. And I go, really? I don't know about that. But when I find an apple that, you know, because people are always having me try apples.
Sure.
And so I'm always getting apples from people. I always take the peel. I'm going to make apple cider vinegar out of there. You can actually, if you don't want to make cider, you can just boil that and can that. It's not juice, but it is a flavored water that you can add to different things. Like if you were making a spice cake, instead of adding the water, you could add that apple water to it.
Okay.
Now the apple itself, you can just eat. You can make pies. You can make crisp. You can make apple butter. You can just do a million different things with the apples. What about the seeds? Now you can't eat those seeds, right? But like right now, out on my patio, I found a really great apple down here. So I saved all the seeds and I put it in the refrigerator, a little wet paper towel underneath, and I covered it with saran wrap. Well, about a week or so ago, they were all sprouting.
Oh.
So I put them in 2 containers, and I have about 32 apple trees growing. They have 4 leaves on them now. Now, what am I going to do? Because I have a lot of apple trees already.
Right.
But I'm just going to let those grow. I'll put them in a raised bed. I'll let them grow for a while, and then I can graft them onto trees I have already. I'll tag them and I'll put a number, and who knows, I might have the next great apple.
Oh my gosh.
It's like mixing apples, right, Sandy? When you graft, let's say you graft a Fuji onto a Granny Smith. You're kind of like mixing those to be like a Granny Smith G, or
Well, that
name.
they will never mix. They will
Yeah.
just, that branch will be a Fuji, that branch will be a Granny Smith.
Okay.
So, like my brother has an apple tree that's probably got 40, 50 different kinds of apples on it. There's a guy in California that I watch his videos, and he has 100 and some different grafts on there of different kinds of apples.
Each branch
so
has
its
its
mix,
own
but it's a different apple on each branch.
out of the
How
same root.
cool.
So
That's
it's
like-
zero waste.
So it's like literally one tree is like your entire grocery store of apples.
Yes.
We could have an orchard of apples in one tree.
Oh
Yeah.
my
I was
God.
thinking for people like I think me, Ann, and Sandy that are on smaller plots of land, you think, oh, well, apples are not in my future because, everybody thinks you have to have 2 or 3 of an apple to grow apples. But if you have 2 and then you graft on different branches, you could have a full orchard literally within 60 feet of each. Is that what I'm understanding? Am I comprehending
Yes.
this right?
Yes. So in the springtime, different apples will flower at different times, and there's some of them different colors. So this one tree is going to have all these different flowering cycles, and so that even if some of them got frosted, you have these other ones that are going to open their blooms later. The bees are all attracted to it, and so you just mark each branch, and so you know what kind of apple it is. And
So awesome.
you can do that with a lot of, like, if you wanted to do a stone fruit, you can graft peaches and plums and cherries onto one tree.
No.
Now, you couldn't put peaches with an apple because that's different.
You just blew
But
my mind.
it just makes it so you're not wasting anything.
Right.
And why not have a tree that has all kinds of apples on it?
So I could
You
like
do that with pears and apples?
There are a few pears that can get grafted to an apple, but you're better off not even doing it. It's very difficult.
So I can have a different, like, let's just say I go to a farmer's market and I get some peaches. These are my favorite peaches now, but I'm not growing that peach out front because the one I got was from the Home Depot 6 years ago, and they're little tiny ones. I don't know what they are, but it's a peach, and I've got peaches now. But if I take the peach and I take the seed and I grow my own little starter, and if it gets big enough, I can graft that branch
Yes.
onto the one that's already out there and have like great big old peaches that are like maybe my more preferred, and the other peaches.
Correct. Yes.
Your favorite would be on the one branch that you grafted.
Yeah, but you could graft multiple ones onto your
Yeah,
tree.
you could.
It's not like you just do one. Maybe you want one here and here and here and here. And so you have 4 other branches so that you can have those. And then you have to remember that if they're flowering at the same time, those bees are going to cross-pollinate. And if you like the peach, maybe you grow again and you have a whole nother variety of peach that you just made because it's cross-pollinated.
Here I was hoping Jesus would come back sooner, but now I'm gonna have to have him wait so I can get some new different types of peach trees and stuff. Like, I'm like,
a minute with those trees.
I'm like, could you hold on? Because I'm gonna need like 20 years, Lord.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you graft it onto an established tree, it has it will actually fruit sooner than it would when it was just from that seed.
Yes.
Okay, so now that our minds are blown, how long does let's say Monica or Casey, not throwing anybody under the bus, decides to go to the Home Depot and purchase an apple tree. Okay. How long before that produces apples?
Well, that depends. It depends on how they grafted it. Sometimes you go to a box store and it's got flowers on it already,
Uh-huh.
right? And the first year you get some fruit. And then the next couple of years you don't get any fruit. You don't get any flowers. They've tricked that tree into thinking it's old enough. Most apples, um, depending on what kind of rootstock they have, aren't going to make apples 6 years to 10 years, right?
Right.
But if you already have an established apple tree
Mm-hmm.
and you're grafting onto it, that will make a difference and it will produce apples on those branches sooner.
And I'm just asking for a friend. So in 6 years at his new homestead that he just moved on, if I graft, I could have multiple apples, different variety of apples within like 10 years.
Yes.
Yes.
As a younger person,
isn't
that
it-
just seems like, why not do that? It's
Right.
Right.
But
All right.
isn't it so that when you graft, Sandy, I'm asking, but isn't it so that when you graft another variety onto like an apple to an apple, but it's going on to an already established that graft is going to think it's in a grown tree. So the graft thinks it's older than what it is and fruits sooner is what I've been told.
Well, in a way,
You have an
it-
amazing way of answering that.
it depends on the original apple tree. An established apple tree has a lot of vigor. It's sending a lot of things up the xylem, a lot of water, nutrients up the xylem, and that can really push it, that little branch, to a new level. It's
Yes.
still going to take it a little while. It's got to grow. It's got to start making its leaf buds, its flower buds, all those things. And when you buy an apple from a store, you're not really sure where it's from, right?
Mhm.
Will it meet your hardiness zone? A lot of times, if it's a established apple already, that tree, that root system will let you grow things that you couldn't grow otherwise because it's hardy enough for your area.
Okay. Well, I just love that there's no waste of space,
Yeah.
no waste of
Right.
anything. Because I have a poor little lonely apple tree out in the yard. Its friend passed away this past fall. And so I was thinking, because we really don't have the space to put another large apple tree, but I could maybe go to a friend's house, has an established apple tree, get a graft, and come and graft it on my little tree, and then I can have some apples.
Yeah,
It can pollinate itself. In other words, if you have two different
correct.
apple trees, you don't have to have two different trees. The flowers can pollinate itself.
Yeah,
So,
and you want to take your scion cuts. That's what the little branch is called, the scion cut. Depending on where you live, where you guys live, where it's warmer, you want to do it in the middle of winter. Where I live in Wyoming, I can take my scion cuts all the way into April because we have colder temperatures, and my tree hasn't decided to that it's springtime.
okay, cool beans. Look, Casey's mouth is open. Monica's taking notes. It's just
Well, as we're sitting here, listeners, if you would like us to do a whole episode on apple trees, leave us a comment in this comment. Now,
Yes.
this episode comes out more in the summer, and apple trees and grafting, as Sandy just mentioned, is more of a colder time activity. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, getting the scion it is. Because usually when I cut my scions, I'm going to put beeswax on the end. I'm going to put them in a Ziploc bag with just a little square wet paper towel, and they're going to go in my refrigerator till it becomes springtime when I'm going to graft.
okay.
Leave us those comments because y'all know, listening, y'all want more of this because I want more of it. And if you don't, sorry.
Yes, we do. But it's always interesting to learn more, to have no waste is really wonderful. So that was about the apple trees, and we've just about come up on our time here for our podcast time. So if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out and say good night to everyone. Thank you, or good day, good morning, wherever you are, whatever time you're listening. We do appreciate you being here. And again, if you want to see our faces, come to Round the Hay Bale, and that is on YouTube. That's where our podcasts come out every Monday. Then on Tuesday evenings, 6 o'clock Mountain, 7 o'clock Standard, 8 o'clock Eastern, on all of our channels, we'll be live talking about the subject that had come out the day before. So thank you all so much for being here, and we'll see you soon. Bye, y'all. Bye.
Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Around the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we're really fancy now.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central Time.